Here we go, 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 here we go. It's another episode of the Public Speaking Expert Podcast. Welcome to this week's episode. We are in season two, and season two is all about influence. And today I want to talk about why your audience isn't buying from you when you speak. Why are they not running to the back of the room and go, give me what you have, give me what you have, give me a man of the midnight. Na, 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 na. Different gimme. But why isn't your audience buying from you? Now, please remember, record and we release an episode once a week, every Saturday. So make sure that you follow us on your local podcasting preferred platform. Now that's a mouthful. Make sure you like, subscribe, and leave us a comment. And if you leave us a comment and it's a nice comment and you send us a picture of it, make sure that you send it to me because then I can send you a copy of my book. And I don't mean commenting on this post, I mean commenting on the podcasting platform which you're listening to this and subscribing. Then I will send you a copy of whatever book I have available, which right now, as we speak, is How to Stand Out, Speak, and Be More Giraffe. So let's talk about why your audience isn't buying from you. Hmm. I get this question a lot actually from experienced speakers. I get it from people starting out. They do a few talks and then behold, they get a round of applause. Well done. Woo-hoo. And no one buys from them. Or they get the hug and that was great. Thank you. No one buys from them. Or they get the whole, here's my offer. And it goes, why is that? Let's talk about this. There are several components with over a decade of experience of watching, training, and speaking myself that I've noticed people that don't sell very well. Are you ready? Because I'm going to share them right now. I'm just making a quick note because I just thought of another one as I was making this note. So here we go. We'll write that down. You ready for this? Of course you are. So here we go. Now, wherever you're watching, hello. Wherever you're listening, hello. My name is Elliot Kane, and I'm the host of the Public Speaking Expert podcast. We're in season two. Season two is about the influential aspect about influence. And we've got a whole bunch of them. So if you haven't already listened to them, listen back and then come back to this one. But you know what? Listen to this one while you're already here already. And if you're watching on LinkedIn or YouTube, just carry on watching basically and then go back to the other ones. But let's talk about why the audience aren't buying from you. Number one, in no particular order, is authenticity. The lack of authenticity. People are not buying into who you are selling yourself as. People are not buying into who you are selling yourself as. This day and age, people have an authenticity radar and they are checking you out. Not just online, they are checking you out energetically. They're checking your congruency out. They're checking out if you're truly saying who you really are and you're going to show up being who you really are. And if the answer is yes, then you pass the test of authenticity. But if you are trying to sound and be like everyone else, or you've been to training, you're trying to sound like your trainer, and people can pick that up. It's clunky, it's robotic, it's disjointed, and even if you smooth it out, there's something energetically behind it that people sense. Now, even if they don't know what it is, they will then start to have something called a cognitive jolt. And if there's a cognitive jolt of mistrust, then they won't really trust you, and they won't know why, and they won't then buy from you because then what happens is through their filtering lenses of their model of the world, you go, I don't quite trust this person. I don't quite trust them. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure I believe them. And it starts to and then when they want my money, I don't want to pay anything for them. Right? So authenticity is quite important. Right? The other one I'm going to talk about, again, as I said, in no particular order, is the lack of targeting, right? The lack of targeting. You are not using your content to target your ideal customer in the audience. Maybe it's too wide. Maybe it's not targeted enough. Or maybe it just kind of vanilla, so it just flies over people's heads and you hope someone will grab it, a bit like like you spring a fishing rod and hopefully someone will bite, versus keeping it targeted, keeping it streamlined so it only really speaks to your ideal buyer in the audience. Now this is very much, by the way, this episode is very much about getting people to buy from you if you're selling from stage, but it's the same, by the way, if you're getting paid to speak and you are conveying a keynote or anything like that. Now, unless it's really targeted to the audience, then they'll get bored and they'll switch off and they won't buy into you, they won't buy into what you're doing, and they won't buy into your talk. So it's the same thing, really, right? Targeted content is what generates cash. Targeted content is king. Please listen to that. Targeted content is what generates cash. Targeted content is king. Targeted content is what generates cash. Targeted content is king. Hey, it's a little rhyme, it's a little song. Yash go into Eurovision and be like, yeah, hello, welcome Elliot from the UK. And he's going to sing about targeted content is cash and targeted content is king. Right. So please make sure that you are targeted with your content. The next thing is, of course, is the other way people go. It's not targeted and it's too much information, too many structures, too many models. Therefore, it becomes confusing. Then people can't really follow a thread. It's got no real journey that you're taking your audience on. And therefore, they're so overwhelmed and they've got so much information going on in their head that they're actually unable to truly process what you've said. So they feel confused, overwhelmed, and they feel a bit stupid because they're like, oh my God, well, I didn't quite get that model. I didn't quite get that model. So how am I going to really buy from them? Yeah. So too much information is not good. It doesn't necessarily add value because we are living in a generation of information overload. Streamline it, get clear, brevity, kaboom, get it to them in a way that's simple, easy to digest and follow, and makes people feel empowered. Empowered in the sense that I understood what the speaker was talking about. I could follow them. Oh my God, that's so good what they're talking about. I'd like more of that. Here is my money. Do you see what I did there? Right? The other thing I want to talk about is the lack of certainty. Now, if you're not being authentic, there'll be a lack of certainty. But even if you are really authentic, unless you're standing on certainty on stage, then you're lacking credibility. You have to be absolutely certain, 100% in your certainty when you're on stage in order to enroll people to buy from you. If it's any way slightly held back or energetically not certain, again, people pick up on that. Now, if you're not certain in selling, how do I know you're going to be certain in delivering? Period. Right? Certainty is credibility. Lack of certainty is lack of sales. Right? The other one we've talked about too much information, right? Is lack of originality. Like you're not saying anything new. You're not saying anything that people haven't heard or someone else isn't saying with a bigger marketing budget. You're sounding like everyone else. Now, it does depend, if you're an expert in your space and you own your lane, the chances are you're going to be saying some stuff that people haven't heard. Now, if you're going to be influential, then you need to sound different, period. And if you sound like everyone else, why would I want to hear you speak? Well, then I have to really be attracted to you as a brand, as a speaker, as a person, versus me wanting to hear what you have to say. Now, of course, the two, wanting to hear what you say and being attracted to you. I don't mean like, oh, look at him, he's so fit. Oh, look at her, look at that. Ooh. Right? I'm talking as in what you have to say. So if you're not original, you're blending in. You're definitely not giraffe. You're definitely not standing above the rest and sticking your neck out. You are definitely none of the above. Right? You got to be original. You got to be relevant with your content because content is cash and content is king, right? When it comes down to it. So this is the other reason people aren't buying from you is you're not original. You sound like everyone else. Stop sounding like anyone else. Stop sounding like everyone else. They're already taken. Sound like you. Be original. Be relevant. Don't overload with information. Have certainty. That's what I'm talking about right here. Yeah. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is two more, by the way, is an unclear call to action. If you don't have an absolutely clear call to action and people get confused, a confused mind says no. A confused mind switches off. Why? Because if I'm like, oh, I'd like to buy from this person. Oh, what? He wants, they want me to do, oh, what? So I get this and this and the bonuses, but what? No, I'm out. Confused mind doesn't buy, right? And it comes a lot. There's a lot of times where you're trained to stack your offer, which is a great thing to do because it adds massive value. But if the stacking complicates the buying process, you're losing sales. Unless it's absolutely right, absolutely clear, your call to action, people will simply not buy. So just got a comment that says, I used to call that throwing mud against a wall and hoping something would stick. And I think you're talking about targeting there, Ian. Thanks for that. Really nice to see you. Hey, buddy. You see, because we record live, so I know you might be listening on the recording, but we also record live, and that's a live comment. Hi, Ian. Yes, absolutely. If you're not targeting video content, it's like throwing mud against a wall, hoping it will stick. Right? There's another word for mud. We won't use it, but it's exactly the same. Hopefully, you're not throwing the other thing around. Anyway, I don't know why I went with that. So let's talk about that as well. So, like, unclear call to action is really a big downside to people not buying from you. And even if it's book a call, even if it's come take my card, buy my book, unless it's really clear, people just don't do it. And people don't like to feel confused. They don't like to feel that they're stupid. And if you overcomplicate your call to action, then people just won't do anything because no one likes to look like a fool. Well, I don't mind looking like a fool every now and then, sometimes. Well, yeah, maybe sometimes when I pull out the dad dances and my daughter's disco, I look a bit like a fool, but not on stage when I'm selling. That's the key, right? And the last thing I want to add why people aren't buying from you is the lack of urgency. If there's no urgency, if there's no motivation for me to make a decision, if there's no need for me to make a decision now, why would I bother? Now, I'm not saying scarcity used to manipulate, which a lot of times we see from people on stage. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people, making people helping people to decide to make a decision quickly because that's the right thing to do. People that dither too long don't buy. People on the fence that aren't urged to make a decision don't buy. But if you say, look, and you this is genuine, I've got several spaces or this price is only available for the right reasons, then that is okay. But when people do the false scarcity, oh look, it's this, but I've only got this, and it's just for the sake of it, that's not right, in my opinion. And now people can push back and tell me it works and things like that. Great for them. It has to be genuine. It has to be genuine. So recently we rolled out a new product and I offered 5 spaces at a certain price. True. Once the spaces were full, I then was like, okay, do I need to up it, which is what the industry would tell you? Let me up this course price because it's full, or should I keep it the same? And I decided to keep it the same for the next 5 because I wanted the price to be a no brainer. I wanted many people as possible to have access to it because I wanted to prove that it worked. So I decided to keep it the same, but I never was pretending it was going to go up. I was just saying the first 5 get this price. And that is the truth. That is the truth. And I stood by it and I stand by it. So got to have some form of urgency, or people will simply have no real inclination to take action. So, those are some of the reasons that people do not buy from you when you speak. Okay, now whether you're doing a paid, when you're doing getting paid, or when you're doing a speak to sell, those are some of the reasons. So, we talked about lack of authenticity is a big no no, lack of targeting, as Ian said here, throwing mud and hoping it would stick, right? Too much information, too confusing, too vanilla, not original, not relevant. All these things means you just blend in and then it becomes a price war. Oh, well, that person wants that amount of money and you want that amount of money. Who do I go with? Right? And they'll go with the person they probably know, like, and trust, and that they could probably pay the least to. Not good. An unclear call to action. If it's confusing or hard to follow, people switch off. And urgency, lack of urgency. If there's no need for me to do something now, why would I do it? Right? And that is why your audience isn't buying from you. So I hope you enjoyed this recording of the Public Speaking Expert podcast. Remember, we release one every single week on all major platforms. So this will be out depending on when you hear about it. Well, right now it's before Christmas, but it might be after Christmas by the time this is out. This is season 2 about influence. So make sure you like, subscribe, and leave us a rating and, of course, a comment. If you leave us a comment on that, I will then, of course, send you a copy of whatever book I have available at the time. By then, book number 6 might be out, which is exciting. But for now, it might be one of my 5. So have a great day. Go out there, be seen, be heard. Always be more giraffe. Go out there and don't only be a great speaker, but always speak your greatness. Till the next time, bye bye.